Hey guys, Desolator Magic here. Welcome back to my new series. Desolator mispronounces European languages while showing off new cards. First up, we've got Celestial Unicorn. It's a 3-cost 3/2. Whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on Celestial Unicorn. So it's really just a Johnny's Unicorn. So if you count the card that has like the little Arena A symbol on it, we've now got 3 of these triggers in Standard as soon as this launches. So that's ridiculous. Mix it with Luminarch. Yeah. Next up, the greatest creature in all of D&D, Dragon Turtle. You're all pronouncing it wrong. It is pronounced Dragon.
Dragon.
Right? That's what I said. We in agreement. Of course, that was my co-host, dictionary.com.
Dragon.
So Dragon Turtle here is a 3-cost 3/5. Oh yeah, flash, cool. And drag below. When it enters the battlefield, tap it and up to 1 target creature an opponent controls. They don't untap during their controller's next untap steps. So effectively, they lose 2 turns worth of the use of that creature, then you lose 1 turn of the use of this creature. You know, okay. I mean, this is pretty good. This is actually like a really good card. So next up, I'll just warn you right now, about half of these are in another language. So thanks, Wizards. Always appreciate that. We got Tiger Tribe Hunter, maybe. It's a 4/4 with Trample, maybe. Creature Human Barbarian, maybe. And it has Pack Tactics, probably. Attack with 6 power, total greater, great. You may sack a creature. If you do, it deals damage. Or this card deals damage to target creature equal to the sacrificed creature's power. So of course I'm going to call this Fling Tiger. And because of how they phrased it, if you have the 1-cost Universal Lifelink Trample Shadow Spear equipped, you're going to win the game. Awfully hard to maintain Pack Tactics if you keep killing your creatures, though, so I don't know about this. Next up, I don't know how they got this out of that, but Oswald Fiddlebender. How they managed to spell a proper noun like that phonetically in Japanese is beyond me, but anyway, it's a 2/2 for 2 legendary creature, Gnome Artificer, and it has... what is that? Oh, pay 1 white, then tap. Okay, I was like, what color is T? So, okay, pay 1 white, tap it, sack an artifact. All 3 of those, part of the payment. Then search your library for an artifact card whose mana value is equal to the mana value of the sacrificed artifact plus 1. Yeah, we've seen that before. It either hits or it doesn't. Then put it onto the battlefield, shuffle your library, activate only as a sorcery. I don't think this will take off, but if it does, it'll really take off. Like, it'll be totally broken. We've had cards kind of similar to this banned from other formats before. Next up, Devoted Paladin. It's an Orc Knight because, you know, all of those Orc Paladins with their massive wisdom. It's a 4/4 for 5, and it has Beacon of Hope. Haters will say it says Beacon of Hope, but we all know that the correct pronunciation of that ability in the game, since forever, is Beacon of Hope. So what it really does is it maxes out healing. Let's see what this does. When Devoted Paladin enters the battlefield, creatures you control get +1/+1 in vigilance until end of turn. That's not even vaguely similar to what Beacon of Hope does, but okay. Next up, we've got Zariel, Archduke of Avernus. Now, you might say that's clearly Archduke. We'll never know, because bitch got a whip in the way. So Archduke here, Zariel, has +1 creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain haste until end of turn. Very nice. Especially this is a 4/4. That's right where I like the Planeswalkers to be. That's a comfortable, playable but not OP place usually, unless they make it OP. Then 0, create a 1/1 Red Devil creature token with when this creature dies, it deals 1 damage to any target. Okay, that's pretty cool. And then -6, you get an emblem with, at the end of the first combat phase on your turn, untap target creature you control. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase. I never liked the phase duplication. It's just really complicated. Really none of the side stuff and weird rule stuff tends to come up, but you'd be surprised. When it does, it's a big headache, so I wish they'd just stop doing this. Just give like 1 creature double strike and pretend you have like 2 combat phases. It's not completely equivalent, but it's damn close. So I have pretty vanilla Planeswalker here. It's kind of neat though. Oh, and here we go with the first Spanish one. We've got Gnoll, I guess, because I know it's Gnoll, otherwise it'd be Noi. Colmillo Demoniaco. Demoniaco. That doesn't sound like the acento is in the right place, but okay. I feel like it should be on the A, but I don't know. All right, brace your cringe muscles. We're doing it live. Atacar en manada. I really don't know the literal definition of that, but it's probably Pack Tactics. So when that Targnol, you know what his name is, attacks, if, really, Atacaste is it attacks, I guess. If it attacks with creatures with power, actually it's force, by the way, total of 6 or more, this combat, odd that the English one doesn't specify that, the creatures attacking obtain +1/+0, until the end of turn. And I remember Asta doesn't mean until, it means something else, but whatever. That's, not too bad. I mean, you're already like swinging with a lot, so then this makes it like a lot. But then if you pay 4 with Christmas colors in there, 2 generic, 2 Christmas, duplicate the power and resistance of Targnar until the end of turn. By duplicate, they mean double, by the way. So this guy's a freaking powerhouse for 2. I mean, this is like really, really good. And next up, we've got Volo. Oh, muy bien, amigos. Voy a salir. Adios. Hasta luego. Adios, cama Felicia. So this says enchant creature, and then the creature that was enchanted has flying. And it turns out that word "and" is the dead giveaway that this is actually Italian. I couldn't read it, it was too blurry. You know what, they're close enough, I'm going to power through it. What the hell does Agna Qual Volta mean? Alright, going to the translation, we've got whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, venture into a dungeon. So not only are the on-hit abilities of the other creatures kind of crap, because I think one of them's like a 2/5 or something, so like you're not getting through, they're just going to block you. Now, you do all that where you have to hit them just to venture into the dungeon. If you're hitting them, you're lowering the life total, you're probably just going to win that way, and probably don't even need the dungeon. Now you get all of that packed up into an aura, so that if it dies, you lose 2 cards. Wow, that is not smart. That is just not a good tactic. Next up, we've got Crydle of Baldur's Gate. It's a 2-cost 1/3 there, human elf rogue, also known as a half-elf. Come on, guys, really. And when Crydle deals combat damage to a player, that player loses 1 life and mills a card. You gain 1 life and scry 1. Nice. I mean, he is still 1/3, but still nice. And then whenever you attack, you may pay 2, generic. If you do, target creature cannot be blocked this turn. Ooh. I feel like it should have said other target creature, and with the translation, I don't know that it doesn't, but yeah, he could just do it himself and then automatically get the trigger every time. So you start strapping giant swords to this guy and you'll just win. I mean, he has no evasion, but still, I just don't like unblockable. It's just not a fair part of the game. Next up, Find the Path, more like Find the English card. Holy crap. So it's 3-cost enchantment aura, enchant land. When it enters the battlefield, venture into the dungeon, and then enchanted land has tap for 2 green. Mana ramp cards at cost 3, just not good. I mean, nobody's interacting with this. I'd maybe take it over a mana dork if I'm desperate, but just never have your mana ramp cost 3. It's not a good idea. And like, if you're doing this early game because you need the mana and you need to get to a high amount, why and how do you already have a dungeon out? I don't know about this card. Seems a little odd. Next up, Hunter's Mark. I think that does an extra 1d6 if you have them marked, if you deal damage to a marked creature. So it's a 4-cost instant. This spell costs 3 less to cast if targets blue permanent you don't control. Okay, usually you can choose the target and it's universal. This is more like favorite enemy or whatever. This spell can't be countered. Okay, we need to see that more often. And target creature you control gets +1/+1 till end of turn. Then it deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. And then that first targeting trigger applies to both targets of the spell. So in multiplayer Commander, that actually could get interesting. But even by itself in Standard Constructed, this isn't bad. But for 4, it's like, okay. I do like force fights that can hit planeswalkers, though. And I'm sick to my ass of Trample Through. That card can go straight back to hell. Next up, Mordenkainen's Polymorph. It's a 2-cost blue instant. Until end of turn, target creature becomes a dragon with base power and toughness 4/4 and gains flying. Always a neat little utility spell there. Next up, we got Skullport Merchant. It's a 3-cost dwarf citizen creature. And when Skullport Merchant enters the battlefield, create a treasure token. And then if you pay 2, sack another creature or treasure, draw a card. Well, there's your treasure cycler there, so, 1/4, not bad. Next up, we got Zombie Ogre. It's a 5-cost 3/5. And at the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, venture into the dungeon. These triggers are really, really hard to consistently pull off, and I would say, well, that's the point. It's supposed to be hard, but these dungeons aren't that advantageous. I mean, the scry one, okay, you get a lot of scry out of that. You go get what you want. But a lot of them are like, oh, get like 1 counter. But they are just like kind of free spells. They're almost equivalent to like a trigger on a really good triggered ability on a permanent, like on a creature. So Okay, maybe it's appropriate. And then we've seen next to none of the creatures, I think actually literally zero besides the pre-spoilers, that say if you've completed a dungeon. With what I've seen so far and how hard it is to complete a dungeon, how hard it is to pull off these triggers, and how damaging it is to the board state to even try to pull off these triggers, I'd like to assume that there's some insane power cards that say if you've completed a dungeon, but we'll see. Next up, another card in Korean. Oh boy. Well, go sing Queen Nagayando. So for 2 blue, you get Enchantment Aura Flash. Oh boy, that's always fun. Enchant creature when Ray of Frost. Oh, it's Ray of Frost, by the way. Enters the battlefield. If the enchanted creature is red, tap it. As long as the enchanted creature is red, it loses all abilities. And that enchanted creature does not untap during its controller's untap step. So if it's red, you get the auto tap. If it's not, the next time it becomes tapped, it won't be able to untap. So they can block with it all they want, or they can attack with it one time. Oh, and apparently the translation of this name is in dispute. Shockingly enough, I know. Next up, hey, we're back to my native language, Spanish. Just kidding, I speak dirty ghetto Spanglish. So we've got Centinela de Oído Agudo. Oh, I get it. I think it's sharp-eared. So, okay, the translation, it looks like, I didn't think I'd have to look this up, is keen ear sentry. Okay. I get where you're going with that. So, anyway, it's Humano Soldado. Muy bien. It's 2-1, and it has all abilities of Anti-Maleficio. What the is that? It means like anti-magic or anti-witchcraft or something like that, I think. So, okay, I'm just going to go with hexproof. Oh, and I think I said it has no... You have the ability of Anti-Maleficio. It's about time we got a card that says that. Jeez. It's been like years. So every opponent that doesn't, or that can't, no, every opponent cannot, I don't know, in the, what the hell, is this even Spanish? Anyway, more than one time per turn. I'm going to say it's probably venture into the dungeon. Checking my work, yep, that's what it is. So opponents cannot venture into the dungeon more than once per turn, and you have hexproof. This card is amazing. Me gusta. Next up, we got Rar the Gate. It's 3-cost blue instant counter target creature or planeswalker spell. Venture into the dungeon. Not worth the risk of not being able to counter something that isn't a creature or planeswalker spell for 3. And boy, you're going to want to hesitate to play this if you don't have a dungeon out. So just the timing. It's so hard to get this venture into the dungeon crap to go off. And by the way, that is a depiction of the actual spell called Gate, which is actually kind of clever. Next up, Dwarf Hold Champion. It's a 2-cost 3-1, and as long as Dwarf Hold Champion is equipped, it gets +0/+2. Nice. This is like the third shot at them just dumping more fuel on the fire trying to get a red-white equipment deck to work, and I think we're almost there. I mean, I've seen people play it on Arena. It's not terrible. Next up, Feign Death. It's a 1-cost black instant until end of turn. Target creature gains when this creature dies. Return to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control with a +1/+1 counter on it. Well, at least it says under its owner's control for once, instead of you being able to steal your opponent's creature when it resurrects. Honestly, the other cards in Standard that do that, I feel like they were typos and they just went with it. So this is powerful, though, especially with a Death Toucher. Also, you get the ETB again. Yeah, this is going to be a problem. That card's going to be a big problem. So next up, we've got Bullet. I hate fighting these things so much. So it's a 4-cost 3/3 at the beginning of your end step. If a creature died this turn, put a 1/1 counter on Bullet. Next up, another cringe name spell. We got You Find a Cursed Idol. You can't just come out and tell them it's cursed. You gotta let them figure it out on their own. When they're like, what does this do? I don't know. And then they equip it. Although in the artwork there, it's like 20 feet tall. So, I mean, I don't think he'll be equipping that. That don't go in the trinket spot. But it's 2-cost sorcery. Choose one. Smash it. Yes. Destroy target artifact. Lift the curse. Destroy target enchantment. Ooh, that's nice. Then steal its eyes. Yes. That is what I would do. Create a treasure token and venture into the dungeon. Oh my god, I love this spell. I love the flavor. I love the artwork. I love the idea. I love the power level of it. I love that it's in the common slot and it's perfect for draft. This might be my new favorite card in the set. Next up, Yuan Ti. Freaking hate those people. Fang Blade. It's a 3-cost 2/2 Snake Rogue with Death Touch. And whenever Yuan Ti Fang Blade deals damage or combat damage to a player, venture into the dungeon. Let's see, that seems more doable because it's a Death Touch. Like, they'll let it through, you know? Next up, Yuan Ti Malison. Is that even a word? So it's a 2-cost 2/1 Snake Rogue and Yuan Ti Malison. I don't know. I'm just going to say they misspelled Allison. Can't be blocked as long as it's attacking alone. Whenever Allison deals combat damage to a player, venture into the dungeon. Hey, did you notice how the last card wasn't a Yuan Ti and this card in the artwork is a Yuan Ti? I am actually curious how that happened. So yeah, another unblockable creature. We're going to have way too many. It's the type of thing where if you put too many in one set, people just go with it. They ignore all the triggers, all the reasoning, everything. Just start putting equipment and counter spells in, and you're dead. And remember, I don't know if anybody's ever mentioned this to you recently or not, but Shadow Spear is a thing. So now every color can just blindly swing away and not give a shit about the repercussions of getting hit back because they're healing. Even colors which notoriously have no healing for balancing reasons. Next up, you're ambushed on the road. Oh boy, it's 1 cost white instant. Choose one, make a retreat. Return target creature you control to its owner's hand. Nice. Or stand and fight. Target creature gets +1/+3 until end of turn. So you either get it out of the way or you make it bigger and it'll survive something or block. Pretty nice. Next up, Air Cult Elemental. Come on, it's not just the Air Cult. I'm sure they have a name. Rude. So it's a 6 cost 2/5 with flying, and it has Whirlwind. Boy, they're adding like 15 new keywords, or maybe I've just never heard of these. I don't know. But when Air Cult Elemental enters the battlefield, return up to 1 other target creature to its owner's hand. Oh, we've had that before, but they just named it, I bet. Okay, well, that's kind of neat. Well, if you want a second ETB, the problem is this card's garbage. And then you burn this turn on some 2/5 crap that isn't merited by paying 6, and then the next turn you burn all your mana, getting whatever you just bounced back to hand back in play. So, I don't know. I mean, it's other creature, though, or other target creature, so you can obviously target theirs. But the theory with this is usually you're, like, saving one of yours or something, but this doesn't have flash. So, I think you're really just screwing with them. But it could be either. Don't forget to kind of consider that. Next up, Grim Wanderer. Ooh, spooky. It's a 5/3 for 2, so, me, and it has flash and it has tragic backstory. Cast this spell only if a creature died this turn, which really is not that hard to pull off, and then you get a 5/3 for 2, which is completely and utterly ridiculous. This is right up there with how egregious Steel Leaf Champion was, but a little bit worse. Next up, Shambling Guest is a 1/1 for 1 creature zombie, and when it dies, choose one of the following. Brave the Stench, target creature and opponent controls gets -1/-1 till end of turn. Nice. Or Search the Body. Oh, we checking for loot. Create a treasure token. So next up, oh, it's your boy, Meteor Swarm. Hell yeah. This is one of the most famous, powerful spells in the history of D&D, and I love it. So it's triple red plus X, and it deals 8 damage divided as you choose among X target creatures and or planeswalkers. So the targeting is the X and the damage is static? Come on. I would have at least scaled it or something. Boy, this is a disappointment for like everybody's favorite spell. I can't believe this. Except I can, because this whole set's a disappointment so far. Next up, you find some prisoners. We've got interrogate them or break their chains. So break their chains, not their change. Hey, would you like, I could break that dollar for you. Here, have some change. Destroy target artifact or interrogate them. Exile the top 3 cards of target opponent's library. Choose one of them until the end of your next turn. I always appreciate that. You may play that card, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast it. I think when it comes to stealing people's permanents, stealing people's creatures and then sacking them, stealing cards out of the person's hand and deck, really the community's take on that so far has been swiper, no swiping. It's like, I gotta make a top 10 list of the most hated mechanics in the game right now because stealing other people's shit would be pretty high on it. Right up there with hand disruption, force discard, mill, literally any alternate win con, over boosted tribals, double-sided cards. Anyway, moving on, we've got you come to the Gnoll camp. Oh boy. So it's a 2 cost, red instant, choose one, intimidate them. Up to 2 target creatures can't block this turn or fend them off. Target creature gets +3/+1 until end of turn. Ooh, big boost, including a little bit of toughness for 2 at instant speed. That's pretty good. Otherwise, you could just use it to cast it. Basically, make 2 of their blockers not a factor and just win the game. So this is a hyper powerful card. Next up, you happen upon a Glade. Oh, these names, I hate them. It's a 3 cost green instant. Choose one, journey on or make camp. We got journey on, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, reveal them, then put them in your hand, then shuffle, but you don't get to drop one in play, so it's not cultivate. Or make camp, return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Well, it's not the battlefield, so, you know, hey. Yeah, I mean, early game ramp and late game resurrect your best creature. It's just a damn good spell. I'm gonna say, today's a little tamer than yesterday, but the set's still not very good. Next up, Shesra, Death's Whisper. So it's a human elf warlock, or as we like to say, half elf. My god, could they not have just put them in? So it's a 1/3 for 4, and it has Bewitching Whispers. Seriously, the rules additions for this set are going to be truly insane. So when Shesra Death's Whisper enters the battlefield, target creature blocks this turn if able, and then Whispers of the Grave. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, you may pay 2 life. If you do, draw a card. So she's pretty weak, but her abilities aren't. So, you know, that's always good. And remember, blocks this turn if able, mixed with that I'm going to steal it and resurrect it with a counter on it. Completely overpowered, completely broken. Next up, Gnoll Warrior. It's 2/2 for 2, and it has Tactics. So the effect is put a 1/1 counter on Gnoll Hunter. So pretty vanilla. Still good though. Next up, Half Elf Monk. Hey, Half Elf. Too bad it's a human elf monk on the subtype line. So it's a 4-cost 1/4 Vigilance and Stunning Strike. You pay 2, tap it, and tap target creature. There are better cards than this, creature-wise, cost-wise, and effect-wise. Next up, Clever Conjurer. He's not that clever. That ability is literally a cantrip called like Wizard Hand or Prestidigitation or something like that. Probably could have just read the card where it says Mage Hand, tap, untap target permanent, not named Clever Conjurer. I'm glad they said there. That'll go straight into my modern deck. And activate only as a sorcery. Wide open untap effects can be kind of dangerous, but I mean, nothing immediately comes to mind in standard that would be too abusive of this. It is repeated and costs 0 mana though, so I mean, we'll see. Next up, Dungeon Descent. It enters the battlefield tapped, and then the rest of the time you can tap it for colorless, and if you pay 4 and tap it, tap an untapped legendary creature you control, and venture into the dungeon. Activate only at sorcerer speed. So you lose access for an entire full turn cycle to one of your legendary creatures, and all you get is 1 venture trigger. I'm telling you, it doesn't look worth it, but we haven't seen enough cards that say if you've completed a dungeon yet. Next up, Zalto, Fire Giant Duke. It's a 5-cost 7/3 with Trample. Holy hell. And whenever he is dealt damage, venture into the dungeon. That's kind of interesting. That it seems doable if you built your whole deck around it, but you wouldn't. Doesn't that other stupid dragon in red that everybody's playing that should be banned say, like, whenever something enters the battlefield, you deal damage equal to its power, or was it its mana value? I don't know. Either way, they probably need to ban that, and they probably need to ban this. Next up, Hama Pashar, Rune Seeker. It's a 3-cost white, blue 2/3, and room abilities of dungeons you own trigger an additional time. Okay, that could be insane in 2 out of the 3 dungeons. Good thing it's kind of narrow on color scope there. Next up, Triumphant Adventurer. It's a 2-cost 1/1 human knight with Death Touch, and as long as it's your turn, it has First Strike. Ooh, First Strike plus Death Touch, pretty good. And then whenever it attacks, venture into the dungeon. Not even hits, just attacks. That is a damn good card right there. That enables some actual moving through a dungeon. Next up, we got Varus, Silvery Moon Ranger. It's a 3-cost 3/3 with Reach and Ward 1, and whenever you cast a creature or planeswalker spell, venture into the dungeon. This ability triggers only once each turn, and then whenever you complete a dungeon, create a 2/2 Green Wolf creature token. Oh, there you go. A doable, actually useful, kind of okay dungeon enabler. Next up, Froghemoth. Never heard of that one, but okay. It's a 5-cost 4/4 with Trample and Haste. It's a frog horror, because of course. And whenever Froghemoth deals combat damage to a player, exile up to that many target cards from their graveyard. Put a 1/1 counter on Froghemoth for each creature card exiled this way. You gain 1 life for each non-creature card exiled this way. Holy crap, that is insanely powerful. Next up, we got another Roll a D20 card. You knew these were coming. We got Earth Cult Elemental. It's a 6-cost 6/6, and it's a siege monster. So when it enters the battlefield, roll a D20 right off the bat. Don't have to pay mana for it. Good. 1 through 9. Really? You're not going to put a 1 on there? Each player sacrifices a permanent. 10 through 19, each opponent sacrifices a permanent. And 20, each opponent sacrifices 2 permanents. So not the most creative thing in the world, but kind of neat. Next up, Chaos Channeler. It's a 4-cost 4/3 with Wild Magic Surge. Whenever it attacks, roll a D20. Hello. So 1 through 9, because suddenly rolling a 1 isn't a critical failure. I guess they upgraded past that version of D&D. We've got exile the top card of your library. You may play it this turn. Nice. 10 through 19, exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play them this turn. And then 20, exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may play them this turn. Definitely interesting. I mean, and it's a 4/3 for 4, so you know you could play this. Whatever keeps Red Rush out of red, but honestly, I mean, look at the rest of the cards. Next up, we got Kick in the Door. It's a 1-cost red sorcery, and put a 1/1 counter on target creature. That creature gains haste until end of turn and can't be blocked by walls this turn, then venture into the dungeon. Not terrible, but not great. Next up, Dungeon Map. Ooh. A colorless venture enabler. Well, what do you know? It's almost like I exactly said that's what was going to happen. So it's a 3-cost artifact. You can tap it and add 1 colorless, and then if you pay 3 and tap it, venture into the dungeon. Activate this only at sorcery speed. That's still kind of a lot of mana, but you're paying for the convenience of not having to color fix it. Next up, Barrowwind, I guess, of Clan Under. I've honestly never heard of what this is, but it's 4-cost 3/3, and when it enters the battlefield, venture into the dungeon, of course, and when it attacks, return up to 1 creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield if you've completed a dungeon. So, free resurrections on swing, so a little more dangerous than Luris for 1 more mana with less flexibility, but it goes up to 3, and it's recurring, so I mean, okay, decent. Next up, Drader, which is really Drider. So apparently you guys said that it's a curse to be turned into a spider. I could have sworn I heard in multiple video games that it was a blessing, but okay. So it's an elf spider, because of course it is, and 4-cost 4/3 with reach, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, create a 2/1 spider creature token with menace and reach. Ooh. Finally, a powerful spider card with reach instead of just like a vanilla 1/5 that does something stupid. Next up, Improvised Weaponry. Yes, bash that squid face in his ugly, stupid squid face. Once again, expert wordsmith here. Whenever I just pick up a rock and chuck it, I always get a crit. I'm famous for that in D&D. So it's a 3-cost. I can math. It deals 2 damage to any target and then create a treasure token. Next up, we've got Bola de Fogo de Ferida. Well, that's Spanish adjacent. It's a 5-cost instant, and it deals 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker, and then roll a d20 after that. If you roll a 1 through 9, it deals 2 damage to each player, and if you roll a 10 or 20, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. So you got a pretty good chance of it hitting you too, and it's only 5 damage for 5. So, and it's only creatures or planeswalkers. This is actually like a really bad spell. And next up, we got Ferida Elegida Diabolica, which is, of course, Devil's Chosen. So it's a Tiefling Warlock, costs 4, it's a 3/3, and whenever you roll a die, she gets Menace and Flying until the end of turn. If any of the results is 10 or higher, draw a card. Ooh, that's spicy. From what I've seen, still not worth building a deck around, but, I mean, we'll see. I haven't seen all the spoilers yet. Next up, Fate's Reversal. It's a 2-cost sorcery in black, and return up to 1 target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, and then venture into the dungeon. Nice. And then we've got Spiked Pit Trap. It's a 1-cost artifact with flash, and if you pay 5 and tap it, which is ridiculous, choose target creature, then roll a d20. 1 through 9, it deals 5 damage to that creature, and 10 through 20, it deals 5 damage to that creature, and then create a treasure token. So a repetitive 5-hitter that only hits creatures, which is, ridiculously powerful for 1, but you have to pay 5 to activate it. And then also it can help ramp you, but unreliably. I mean, this could be pretty good. This will be insane in a draft. I can't believe they put it in the common slot. That was honestly just careless. And finally, we have a +2 mace. Can't get much more classic than that. It's a 2-cost white equipment, and equipped creature gets +2/+2, and then equip 3, making this absolute garbage compared to the longsword, which is like the baseline equipment, like the most vanilla, boring, repetitive equipment in the game. So yeah, equip 3 is kind of high. So that's it for today, but we got even more coming. We're only at 141 out of 281, so I will see you guys next time.